delighted to pose the first question to His Excellency Qubad Talabani, the Deputy Prime Minister of the Kurdistan region. Qubad,
yes,
do you think that Kurdistan should prioritize putting its own house in order by reviewing its draft constitution, considering possible amendments, and then putting it to the people in a referendum? Should Kurdistan get its house in order before the reset of relations with Baghdad?
Thank you for the question, and thank you to the American University of Kurdistan in Duhok for this event, and thank you to the University of Duhok for lending us this very nice facility to have this conference in. Yes, we need to prioritize getting our own house in order, absolutely. Kurdistan needs a constitution for itself within the framework of Iraq so that we can finalize and put in place the right governing structure for Kurdistan. But by prioritizing it, it doesn't mean we have to neglect Iraq and the relationship, the reset that the title of this panel is called. They have to run in parallel, because there's no point us restructuring or focusing on our internal constitution while the country that this constitution has to work within is going in a different direction. So I believe that these two things must work in parallel. Constitution is important. Understanding the governing model of Kurdistan is necessary, but that reset is also necessary and vital. One without the other will lead to perpetual tensions and potential failure.
But do you recognize there's a problem there? If you do the two processes in parallel, that's impliedly giving Baghdad a veto over the development of Kurdistan's own constitution. You have a right under the Constitution of Iraq to develop your own constitution as you prefer. Obviously, you will want to make it compliant in principle with the Constitution of Iraq, but you don't have to explicitly do that. Most of the states of the United States don't recognize the federal government in Clause 1. They develop their own state constitutions in their own interests.
This is not the United States. If it were, many things would be very different. But it's not, and this is Iraq. And I did not say that we should give Iraq a veto at all. What I said was, we need a constitution. Yes, that is for us. That is to govern Kurdistan in the way that the people of Kurdistan would like Kurdistan to be governed, in terms of its structure, in terms of its mechanisms, and how all of the functioning parts of Kurdistan work with each other and coordinate and talk to each other. But that cannot happen in a vacuum. That cannot happen successfully if the question of federalism is still not answered in Iraq. We cannot have a functioning constitution in Kurdistan if we are still not getting our rights within Iraq. That's not going to fix our problem. Having a constitution in Kurdistan is not going to fix the fundamental problems that Kurdistan is facing, which is the injustices facing us from Baghdad on issues such as the budget, on issues such as salaries, on issues such as oil and gas management, the issues that have been around since we've been working on this issue for several decades now. So they cannot happen irrespective of each other. It has to run in parallel. And we have to realize that reset is critical for Iraq, for Kurdistan within Iraq, but also for stability and prosperity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Qubad, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, the mic's working. I don't know if it's, yes, you can have federalism without a second chamber, in my opinion. And I think Iraq needs a second chamber.
Do you know of an example of a federation without a second chamber?
I don't think we should look at examples and try to copy and paste them to Iraq. Nothing that we have is like anything in the world. So we need a system that works for us. And we've kind of done that, right? We have a federal model. We've looked at different models. There's kind of an asymmetric federation in Iraq where we have a region within a country, and then we have a whole host of other provinces. Yes, the country needs a second chamber, absolutely. It will strengthen institutions. It'll create a more balanced political climate. It'll create a more balanced policy platform, absolutely. But before we talk about the institutions that will exist within a federal country, we need to reset the political relationships between all of the various political and ethnic and religious components of the country to actually ask the question, is Iraq a federation? And if it is, what is each person's definition of federalism? Because I'm pretty sure if you ask 10 different political parties what their definition of federalism is, they'll give you different answers. And that is why today, and we've said this many times in our discussions with the President, the Prime Minister, and others, that the Iraqi constitution has become like a restaurant menu. Everyone just picks the foods that they like and ignores the appetizers and main courses that they don't like.
But you're a supporter of that constitution.
I'm a supporter of that constitution in its entirety.
And that
not just Article 140, which is
absolutely, it includes specifically in Article 65 provision for a federal second chamber.
Brendan, let's say tomorrow we have a second chamber. Great. Is that going to fix my budget issues? No. Is that going to fix the security issues? No. We can have all of the most brilliantly drafted language in laws, in constitutions. We can create buildings and create chambers and ministries and interagency. If the mindset does not agree with federalism, does not agree with power sharing, does not agree with revenue sharing, does not think you're equal and deserve your rights as a citizen, you can have all the institutions and the constitutions and the ink as you want. You haven't solved anything. So my point here is, rather than focus on something specific, which, yes, is a building block towards a more broad federal concept, we need to get to the heart of the problem. And the heart of the problem is really the title of this panel. Does this country need a reset or not? In my opinion, it does. In my opinion, there needs to be a much more honest discussion about the future of this country, how we collectively, as Iraqis, with all of its subcomponents, coexist. Can we coexist? Parallel to that conversation is a conversation we also need to have internally within the Kurdistan region. How are we going to coexist with each other within the Kurdistan region, within Iraq?
So if I hear you, and I'm an Arab-Iraqi negotiator, I hear wonderful flexibility. I hear no strong commitment to the Constitution of 2005. You're not insisting on particular provisions.
Brendan, you're putting words into my mouth.
No, I'm not putting words into your mouth. I'm saying what I hear as a potential Arab-Iraqi negotiator. Yeah,
there is. All I'm saying is the Constitution is important. Yes, we need it. I believe in it. I support it. I was involved in the drafting process of it. But the problem is not the Constitution or its language. The problem is the culture that is running this country. And you can't change that culture with words. You cannot change that culture with agreements. You cannot change that culture with a contract. You need to change that culture with an honest, serious discussion that begs the question, can we live together or not? If we can live together, what are the boundaries? What are the responsibilities? What are the rights? Right? Maybe this constitution needs to be amended. And it's not the end of the world.
Are there many countries... Are there particular provisions that you would want to amend?
No, I want to amend the mindset that we have to deal with on a daily basis. Because again, you can have the best written constitution in the world. If somebody's not sending you your salaries because of an ideological problem, then what good is the constitution? What good is the budget law? We work tirelessly to pass a budget law in Baghdad that should give all Iraqi citizens their rights. We have not received our rights. We have not received our salaries. They said, oh, you have oil. Okay, they took oil away from us. Okay, where are our salaries? What good has the budget law been for us as Kurds within Iraq? A budget law that was written, drafted, negotiated, passed, right? What good is it? It's no good. So the problem is not the words. The problem is the mindset. And that mindset requires a more honest discussion that we have right now. We all have political discussions with various political parties are always engaging. They're visiting Baghdad. The government is sending delegation after delegation to Baghdad. But I think we're all dancing around the real topic. And that's, again, I know you're a professor and you're very well steeped in constitutional issues, in federal issues, but parallel to the legal side of this is the political, the cultural, the emotional, the historical.
I don't want to deny the importance
angles.
of culture. Qubad?
I think to some extent it's a diversion from the topic of this panel. I feel as engaging as the discussions have been, we've spoken a lot about Iran. We've spoken a lot about militias. We've given all kinds of labels out, right? Some hyperbole, some, I think, inaccurate. And I think this is a discussion that is moot. The federal court, which is the supreme court of the country, has made a decision. It doesn't matter what I think of it. It's made a decision, and the decision's been implemented, and it's been acted on, which tells you there is a political problem in this country that requires, again, I keep going back to it. I sound like a broken record, and I apologize to the audience. But what's missing here is a very strategic dialogue about the future of the country and whether or not, how we can all coexist. And these things that we're seeing, maybe there's truth to them, maybe there's legal basis for them, maybe there isn't, maybe they're politicized. But at the end of the day, if there isn't a political forum where we can discuss how do we coexist, then we'll probably see more decisions, and maybe we'll see counter decisions being made by other entities within the federal system. So I think the big reset that the title of this panel is named after, I think is a reset that could be required nationwide and not just within the Erbil,
so the big
Baghdad
has to include
Sunni Arabs. Everybody. It has to include Christians, has to include Turkomans, has to include Yazidis, it has to include all components of Iraqi society, because this is a very complicated country to govern. I can't think of many countries that has this level of complications with ethnic, religious, sectarian history, regional issues, regional dynamics, internal dynamics, wars, genocides, usually countries have issues between one or two entities. We're in a country that has issues between 20 different entities.
So the reset would have to include discussing the separation of powers.
Absolutely.
And the successful incorporation of Sunni Arabs.
Of everybody. At the end of the day, nationalism is a defensive ideology. I, as a Kurd, become more nationalistic when somebody is taking something away from me, because I'm Kurdish. When I feel now, as Deputy Prime Minister of Kurdistan, sitting here with my Prime Minister, with the President, with the head of my political party, we're sitting here at a time when there's 64 days of boycotts and demonstrations by teachers in Sulaimani and other cities across Kurdistan. Why are they demonstrating? Why are they boycotting their employment? Because they're not receiving their salaries on time. And now, so that makes me automatically, right, more nationalistic. I feel like I'm being punished. I feel like Kurdistan's being punished. I feel like our employees are being punished. And this is, and they are. And that's, this is what I keep going back to. If people are getting their rights, and if everyone can live within a country and have the same rights and have the same opportunities, have the same protections, then, okay, your national identity then becomes something that you're proud of, something that you'll always be proud of, but it will not, drive you to counter and analyze and double analyze every decision that is made against you. Now, everything that happens against Kurdistan, we automatically go into this mindset, this is because we're Kurds.
دو رؤية جواز هي لعراق فيدرال رؤية كتايبة بكردستان لكردستان دولة مداري برو برنسيبا كان ديمقراسية ونزيكا أو روانجي هي أو فيجنا كيتي كبي أو الكترازانا ياخذ نزيك بونا بين عراق وبين كردستان بكيت أتواني أو جوازي أو رؤية جوازي هردولا زور بأشكراي ببيني كالعراق أو رؤية ديمقراسية وجودي زور لاوازة شون أتوانين أو نزيك بونا بكين بتشي وازي واضحة.
Are you happy?
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to answer in Kurdish, English?
As you see fit. When I was asked frequently whether I was English, I would always reply, au contraire, monsieur.
Au contraire, yes.
Because I'm Irish, of course. Off you go.
پێم وایە نظامی فێدرالی ئەتوانێت یارمەتی دەربێ بۆ ئەو دوو ڕؤیا جیاوازە یان ئەگەر سێ ڕؤیای جیاواز هەبێ یان پێنج ڕؤیای جیاواز هەبێ لە نظامێکی فێدرالیە ئەگەر لا مرکزیەتێک هەبێ شۆڕکردنەوەیەکی دەسەڵات هەبێ زۆر تەبیعیە هەرێمی کوردستان بە شێوەیەک بەڕێوە ببرێت بە پابەندبوون بە مەبدەئەکانی ئازادی دیموکراسی مافی مرۆڤ ئەوانە زۆر تەبیعیە کە لە هەرێمی کوردستان لە چوارچێوەی دەستورێک کە هەموو وڵایەک پابەند بێپەی لە چوارچێوەی بۆچوونێک کە هەموو لە هەرێم پابەند بن پێی زۆر ئاساییە حکومڕانیەکە لە کوردستان بە شێوەیەکی تر بێت لە چوارچێوەی لە چاو بەشەکانی تری عێراق کە ڕەنگ بێ هەندێک ئەفکاری تر زاڵ بن بۆیە پێم وایە نظامی فێدرالی باشترین نظامە بۆ بەڕێوەبردنی وڵاتێک وەکو عێراق کە ناوچەی جیاوازی هەیە کە نەتەوەی جیاوازی تایە کە بۆچوونی زۆر جیاوازی تایە پێم وایە شتەکە ئەوەندە ئاڵۆز نییە.
Qubad, Article 112 of the Constitution envisions an automatic distribution of oil revenues to the regions. And so I wonder whether this is possible as part of the Great Reset rather than the whole process going through a budget and even going through a budget for specific items. I mean, the idea was a block grant, you could spend it on salaries or roads or whatever. And for Joel, and again, I want to thank you for your help in rescuing an American orphan several years ago, as you'll recall. But my question is, you've described Iraq as a house on fire. And if you have a fire on your house, what the first thing you do is you rescue the part of it that you can. And so doesn't that really mean that the United States ought to recognize the decision of the people of Kurdistan in a free and fair referendum by 92.3% to have an independent state, and in short, have the identical policy for Kurdistan that it has for Palestine?
So, Qubad, do you have the question on Article 112?
I think revenue sharing is vital. The revenue sharing, the elusive revenue sharing law is vital to get a real understanding of, again, citizenship, right? When you see revenues being distributed equitably to all the elements of the regions of Iraq, then the sense of citizenship will be strengthened. So yes, absolutely, we need a revenue sharing law. I'm not going to be pedantic and say, well, I'll be happy with that revenue sharing law to be in the budget law, be equally happy for it to be separate. I don't think it's something to really fight over whether it should be separate. We just need one. We need an understanding that, and again, and I think you helped answer my question, or you helped answer your own question, and that is, it is not for the federal government to tell us how to spend a region's money. So that's what our own parliament is for. That's why we have a parliament in Kurdistan that is elected by the people of Kurdistan. They are there to determine how this revenue, some of it which comes from our own revenue sources, some of it should come, it's not coming, but should come from the federal government. It's an amount, right? That amount should be proportional to the needs of Kurdistan, and then it's our parliament's decision to determine how much of that goes to running the government, how much of that goes towards salaries, how much of that goes towards public expenditure and projects and so forth. So yes, but again, there is, within certain institutions, within the federal government, and this is where I go back to the mindset and the culture. There are certain institutions within the federal government that are historically centralized. Finance, the finance ministry, and I know we have I think 2 former finance ministers here, dear friends, Kakushar and Qubad. The cultures of ministries of finance is automatically centralized, right? They want to control the money, they don't want to spend money, they don't want to. We have a former KRG Minister of Finance and I think an active KRG Minister of Finance here as well. So the culture is automatically to be very centralized. Now you add the ethnic and the historical and the political and the constitutional and the regional and the international dynamics to it, it becomes even more so. So our challenge today is we sit with the federal prime minister. He tells us you're right. We sit with the Iraqi political parties and they tell us, oh, salaries have to be separated. Yeah, you're right. The salaries should never be part of the political discourse and the political disputes. Okay. When it comes to implement this, we have a Ministry of Finance that says, no, according to this article of this bylaw, of this interpretation of this law, I'm going to do it this way. So, it's a culture. It's a culture within a ministry, and it's a culture within a ruling system. And that culture really needs to change.
My question includes a small correction of a point that His Excellency Qubad Talabani made about the issue of nationalism, because I am teaching nationalism. I think what he meant was ethnic understanding of nationalism, not because nationalism is a really broad area and it's very complicated. So we cannot accuse the Kurds for being nationalist in expressing their demand with other countries and even with central government in Baghdad. What he meant, maybe he refers to ethnicization of nationalism, but what we pursue in Kurdistan is a civic understanding of nationalism, which could include other ethnic groups like Arabs, Turkmen, Kildani, Yazidi, and other ethnic and even religious identities. But I'm taking, if he means ethnicization of identity, if in his political representation in Baghdad or with other country he ignores Kurdish identity, I don't mean that you ignores your own Kurdish identity, but in politics, if you want to, let's say, reduce this amount of Kurdishness or Kurdish identity, how are you going to represent or identify or self-identify yourself in the international community and with the Baghdad government? Thank you.
Thank you. Qubad, that's for you.
Thank you for, interpreting my words. No, your interpretation of my words was not correct, if you'll allow me. My opinion is when, again, I'll reiterate it, and I'll try to make it more simple. If you take something away from me, I'm going to get aggressive. If you take something away from me because of my national identity, I'm going to get more aggressive. And that's going to continue to get more and more. And that was what I meant by, right, if you take away something from me based on my national identity, it's a defensive ideology. And in this part of the world, we don't really know how to defend. Our defense is an offense here. And that has long been our makeup, and that has long been our mindset. So I can go and talk about Kurdistan and our history and our struggle and our identity and our flag, and I could talk about all of those things, the emotional things that make us proud to be Kurds. But if I can't go and get the basic fundamental rights for my people, and if I can't get salaries for my people, if I can't get better services for my people, what good is all of that emotion? I'm more patriotic than you, so please never question my patriotism. 23, 24 years of service is not because I'm unpatriotic. No, I'm much more patriotic than you. But for me, what people need right now is not slogans. What people need is not the emotional side of things. What people need is the fundamentals: salaries, services, equality, sense of justice. And that's true patriotism. If you can attain those and get those, that's doing a service for your people.
پرسیارەکەی من بۆ کاک قوبادە سەبارەت بە دادگای فیدراڵی و سیستەمی فیدراڵی لە عێراقا و ئەو گرفتانەی لە نێوان هەولێر و بەغدایە بوون لە ساڵانی ڕابردوو لە 17 ساڵی ڕابردوو. ئێستا بە ئەوەی پەیوەندی بە نەوتەوە هەیە یان هەندێک بڕیاری تری سیاسی. ئێستا دادگای فیدراڵی لە عێراق وەک بووە بە کۆمەلگای خواکان. من ناویلیان هێم کۆمەلگای خواکان چونکە تەنها خوا لێی ناپرسرێ چی ئەکا، بەڵام لە عێراق دادگای فیدراڵی لێی ناپرسرێ کە چی ئەکا. پرسیارەکەی من ئەوەیە لە جەنابەت ئێوە لە 17 ساڵی ڕابردوو بۆچی تا ئێستا نەتانتوانیوە حیمایەکی قانونی یعنی حیمایەکی یاسایی بۆ مافەکانی کوردستان دروست بکەن بە دەرچواندنی یاسا سەبارەت بەو لەسەر ئەو بەرگە دەستوریانەی پەیوەندی بە عێراقی فیدراڵەوە هەیە وەک یاسای دادگای فیدراڵی یان یەک یان یاسای نەوت و غاز. زۆر سپاس.
زۆر سپاس بۆ پرسیارەکەی جەنابەت. پێم وایە کوردستانێکی یەکڕیز ئەتوانێت بە باشترین شێوە پارێزگاری لە مافەکانی کوردستان و خەڵکی کوردستان بکە. وە کوردستانێکی یەکڕیز بە فعلی کوردستانێکی بەهێزە بێت و ئەو هێزە تۆ سبەینی ئەتوانین لە بەغا لە پایتەختی عێراقا ئەو هێزەی خۆت بەکاربێنی. ئەگەر ئێمە نەمانتوانی بێت لە ئەو 17 ساڵە جەنابەت وتت ساڵی ڕابردوو وەک پێویست پارێزگاری لە مافەکانی هەرێمی کوردستان بکەین، ڕەنگ بێ بەشێکی پەیوەندیدار بێ بە هەندێ هێز کە لە دەرەوەی ئیرادەی هەرێمی کوردستانە، بەڵام ئەبێ سێریکی خۆشمان بکەین. ئەبێ بزانین ئایا ئێمە چەند ئەهمیەتمان داوە بە پێگەی خۆمان لە بەغا، چەند ئەهمیەتمان داوە، چەند گرنگیمان داوە بە کاریگەری خۆمان، کاریگەری سیاسی خۆمان، کاریگەری قانونی خۆمان، کاریگەری خۆمان لە سیاسەتکردن لە عێراق، نەک تەنها بۆ ئەو بابەتانەی کە پەیوەندیدارن بە هەرێمی کوردستان. من پێم وایە بۆ ماوەیەکی زۆر ئێمە دابڕین لە حکوومەتی فێدرالی و کێشەکان ئەوەندە زۆر بوون تەنها خەمی مەوزوعەکانی خۆمانمان خوارد و ئەمە وای لێ کردین ئێمە دوورکەوینەوە لە مەرکەزی قەرار لە بەغا و بۆیە ئێستا ئەبینین لە هەندێک لەو مەراکزانە ئێمە ڕەنگ بێ وەک پێویست کاریگەریمان نەبێ، بەڵام ئەتوانین دانیشین و ببۆڵێنین و گلەیی بکەین کە هیچ سوودێکی نابێ و ئەتوانین چارەسەری بۆ بدۆزینەوە. چۆن چارەسەری بۆ بدۆزینەوە؟ بێ پێگەی خۆمان لە ناوەندەکانی بڕیار لە عێراقا بەهێزکەین. چۆن ئەتوانین بەهێزی بکەینەوە؟ بە خۆمانەوە دەست پێ بکەین، بە دروستکردنی جەوێکی گونجاوتر، بە دروستکردنی یەکڕیزی، بە گەیشتن بە تەفاهمێک لە چۆنیەتی پێکەوە کارکردن و چۆنیەتی بەڕێوەبردن. ئەمە یەکڕیزیەکی حەقیقی دروستەکە. ئەو یەکڕیزیەش وامان لێ ئەکاتەوە سبەینێک کە چوین بۆ بەغا ون لە بەغاش نەوەستین، چون مشکلی ئێمە تەنها بەغا نییە، مشکلی ئێمە تێڕوانینی هەندێک خەڵکی بەسڕەیە لەسەر هەرێمی کوردستان. ڕەنگ بێت تێڕوانینی خەڵکی ئەمبار بێ لەسەر هەرێمی کوردستان. من زۆر لە کاتی مفاوەزاتەکانە لە بینی هەرێم و بەغا زۆر خەڵکم بینی، چین و توێژی جاجان بینی، وەرزشوانم بینی، ڕۆشنبیرم بینی، میدیاکارم بینی، سیاسیم بینی، پەرلەمەنتارم بینی. تێڕوانینی زۆر جیاوازیان هەبوو لەسەر هەرێمی کوردستان، معلوماتی زۆر هەڵەیان هەبوو لەسەر هەرێمی کوردستان. چونکە بە غیابی ئێمە بۆ ئەم هەموو ساڵانە بۆ چوونێک زاڵ بووە کە عێراق شکستی هێناوە لەبەرەوەی کە هەرێمی کوردستان لە ساڵەکانی 2005 تا 2012 سەرکەوتوو بوو کە ئێمە هۆکاری وەزعی خراپی مالی بەشەکانی تری عێراقین کە ئەمە ئەسڵ و ئەساسی نییە وەکە بۆیانمان شەرح کرد کە لە ساڵی 2014 تاکو 2018 حکوومەتی فێدرالی یەک فلسی بۆ هەرێمی کوردستان نەنارد کە ئێمە پێمان وایە ڕنگ بێ ئەو بڕە ئەگەر کۆی بکەیتەوە ڕنگ بێت 44-45 میلیارد دۆلار بێت باشە کە ئەو پارەیە نەهاتووە بۆ هەرێمی کوردستان ئەی لەکوێ سەرف کراوە ئەگەر حتا من لە پەرلەمان برادران ڕنگ بێ لە بیریان بێ وتم ئەگەر ئەم پارەی کە ئەبوایە لە هەرێمی کوردستان سەرف بکرێت ئەگەر لە بەسڕە سەرف کراوە خەستەخانەی پێدروست کراوە پیرۆزیان بێ ئەوە هەدیەی هەرێمی کوردستانە بۆ بەسڕە ئەگەر بەو پارەیە جادەکانی ناسڕەیان پێچا کردبێ پیرۆزیان بێ ئەمە هەدیەی هەرێمی کوردستانە داوای ناکەینەوە ئەگەر بەو پارەی هەرێمی کوردستان بەشەکانی تری عێراقی پێجوان کرابێ پیرۆزیان بێ داوای ناکەینەوە ئەوە هەدیەی خەڵکی کوردستانە بەڵام هەموو اعترافیان کرد کە یەک فلس لەو پارەیە لە یەک شوێنی تری ئەو عێراقە سەرف نەکراوە بۆیە ئێمە ئەم شەڕە هەواڵان برادەرینە ئەمە لە بەغاوە ئەکرێت ئەبێ بەهێز بین هێزی خۆشمان ئەوەیە کە کاریگەر بین کاریگەریەکەشمان ئەوە دروستە بێ کە یەکڕیز بین و پێکەوە کارکەین لە پێناوی ئەو ئامانجە گەورانە و سوپاسدانەکەم و ببوورە ئەگەر تۆزەی درێژەمدا
Thank you very much.